All right, today we are going to take a look at log entries. And if you were to just do Google searches on how to use log entries in PowerSchool, you have to be very careful with what you might come upon, because the majority of the documentation out there in log entries talk about how it's to be used for discipline. And in the state of Alabama, discipline is not to actually go in log entries. Discipline is to be entered into incidents instead, which means we can, as a state, reconfigure log entries to be beneficial to us and do kind of some outside of the box things with that inside of PowerSchool, because it does give you a way to kind of, through security, lock down areas for note taking or whatnot for specific users in the district. So let's start off with how your instance could possibly look if your district has not done anything in the setup of log entries. So I'm in a pilot site right here, and I've got my pilot student, Snow White. And if you were to use the out of the box, just how PowerSchool turned it over to us, log entry setup, here is what your page might look at. And if you are, on double screens or anything and want to follow along, I encourage you to check these screens and see what yours looks like compared to what mine looks like. So if I were to go into Snow White right here, and I want to enter in a log entry. So log entries are found over here on the left under administration. And if you don't even see this link right here, then that means that this page has not been turned on for you actually inside of your group security setup. And I'll show you where that can be changed if anyone on here is the actual PowerSchool administrator for the district and needs that setting turned on. So if I go into log entries, you'll see that I actually have one that's been entered in here of a tardy, because in this instance, we're playing around using it as tardies as well. But I'm going to hit new. And how many of you, when you hit new on a log entry on a student, get a page that looks like a discipline referral? How many of you have your log entry page look like this? Yep, because that's the old school out of the box use of it. Well, I'm going to tell you, we are not. We are going to take this and rip it to shreds and make it beneficial for what y'all need. Like, where are my counselors at on here? I know I have some, right? Tell me I do. Yes, hands, I love it. Love my counselors. How many of y'all have been asking, where's my counseling notes that I used to have in iNow? I want it back. You want it back? I'm going to tell you today how to get it. So this is going to be recorded. So if your person who is the PowerSchool person who needs to set these settings are not on this call, you can take this recording and go, look, watch, here's what we got to do. I want to get that little area back. So this can be used all kinds of different ways. But the first thing we need to do is get this page reformatted. I don't want to see, let's see, alcohol related. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see, hey, corporal punishment, detention, juvenile court. These are old school behavior type things. This is not what we use this for. I don't want to see incident details. I don't want to see incident locations. You'll see some of these are pre-programmed with different things in here, and that's because it actually came out of the box like this is what led a lot of people to think that this is how they were supposed to enter in discipline, and it completely is not what this is used for. So let me show you what this looks like in another instance. So I'm going to go to a different pilot that is a version of Opelika's data with kind of scrambled and my fake kids of Mickey Mouse and such in here. And I'm going to show you kind of how I set it up for them before I left so that it would be a little more beneficial. So I'm going to go into Mickey Mouse. And I am going to, see, I've been playing with some scheduling because it's that time of year for my counselors out there. I'm going to go down into administration and log entries. And you'll see that I've got some just gibberish entered in here as examples. But watch what happens when I hit new inside of here. What does this look like? Is this like what you used to seeing where you can do your notes and you can go in and put it in? This is what you want in it. You want to get rid of that screen of all of that discipline. Yes, Shannon, right there. This is so much better. And this allows you to use it for multiple things. But basically, a lot of people just want that note-taking area. That they want that place where they can go and say, hey, I'm entering this different type, and it's where, hey, I called mama and had a conversation, and they just want to note it. It's just record keeping is all it is. But it's record keeping that you can run reports on if you need to, and it's record keeping that you can lock down in security, which means if you're a counselor and you need to put some private notes that you don't want anybody else to be able to have access to, we can lock it down just to those who are counselors and have access to that student. Now, I am going to, and Sean's not in here, but I will always preface with our warning, always be careful exactly what you enter in here. We kind of all know those warnings for my counselors who are on this call. Y'all know what I mean when I say that. So we got you here. I've had, even though in nurses, we have the nurses contact log inside of the health piece. Some nurses have asked their districts to set this up for them and give them like a place to go in here and put it. So let's look at the different types of log types that are available. So when I look at this page right here, I get this drop down of log types, and these are just the ones that have been set up in this instance that we're playing with. I've got one called attendance, counselor, discipline, even though we're not going to use for discipline, grade change, parent contact, transcript request. I've had people say, hey, I want this to be where I can enter it in based on different use cases. Like I've seen some districts who have detention listed as one because they just want to mark detentions, because that's not necessarily a discipline thing. That's an in-house teacher thing of who's keeping someone after school, and they want to make note of that. Tardies, they want to do, because maybe you track tardies for something in a way different from attendance, like not tardy to the school day, but tardy to an individual class, but you don't have your teachers take individual attendance and things like that. So kind of think out of the box. Grade change is a huge, huge use that I'm seeing inside of here, because log entries can actually be triggered from the teacher side. The way that PowerSchool has this set up, there's a setting under district information, schools, and school info where you had to put an email address for somebody to be emailed when teachers enter in what they call the discipline entries, aka this old school log entry. What I have seen some districts do is reformat that to be a grade change, because how many of y'all have like a grade change process in place where maybe a teacher has to fill out a form, principal has to sign off on it, then it goes to either the counselor or the registrar data clerk to actually make the change on the historical grade side after the grade book's been updated by the teacher. You can actually make that an electronic flow using this and kind of using those old school discipline channels to flow other forms. So this right here, the way it's set up is just you're choosing what kind of log type. The kind of log type that you see is dependent on the actual security setting you have been allowed to see. So I'm going to stay on this page, but I want to pop open another tab and show you the security screen that has to be under a group to be able to see these different types as you're logged into the administrative portal. So I'm actually going to go into security setup. So remember, not everybody has access to this. Mainly it's going to be your district PowerSchool administrator. But when you go under system and you scroll down to security and groups, I'm just going to click into, let's just use my counselor group that I have. So look at this section right here. See, I didn't mean to highlight all that. These accessible log types. For any log type that I create, and I'll go into how to set up all those log types and do that change. For any log type that I create, it will be listed here. So if I go in and add another log type that says tardies, or another log type that says, I don't know, merit meetings or academic advisor, think of anything that you might want to track. Whatever I add in here will be listed, and then I get this option of checking a box. And if I check a box on this group, so remember, I'm in the counselor group, whatever box I check is going to give them that drop down right there. So if I'm on the counselor group and the only thing that I give them access to is the one called counselor, then when they log in, the only drop down choice they would get is counselor. If I want the counselors to just see transcript requests because I want to track that, or I want to check grade changes or parent contacts, then those would be the only 4 options that I would get when I'm in here as that end user. So this security group setting here controls what you actually get to choose from in this list. Now, remember how I said at the beginning, what if you don't even see log entries over here on the left under administration, because that's how I got to this screen? Well, that is actually also in this group setting, in this group security. If you scroll down to the bottom for my PowerSchool administrators, under the accessible student screens, you would also need to have right here this log entry checkbox checked. So this box turns on this link here. everybody with me on the security of how you would get those individual groups attached to be able to do this?
You do that last step one more time that you just did, and I have a question. To know right now who has access to what logs, is there a report that could show you that so you could update who has that access, or would you just have to go through each role type individually?
Let me look on that because I do know that there are some security reports in the PSCB reports that do break down some of the group settings. So let me look at that. Remind me in just a few, and I'll poke into that. So that last step that I just showed was on the security group. So I'm going to go back to the main screen. To set up your security groups, you would, from the main page, go down to System under Setup, scroll down under Security, and it's in the group security. So think about any group that you would want to give any access to. So these are just the groups that I have. Every district is going to have a different set of groups depending on how y'all decided to structure your security inside of PowerSchool. So I would need to go in here and go, okay, as a counselor, which log types do we want them to have access to? And every time you create a new log type, it comes by default unchecked, so you would need to come check it for the appropriate groups. So I would check here for the log types, and then under, just to make sure they have access to log entries, period, under these accessible student screens, make sure that that group also has the log entry checkbox here. So kind of two pieces. To turn on this entire page altogether, it's that student accessible checkbox log entry, and then to determine what they actually get as a drop down once they can access this page is going to be through what you check up here under the log types. So that gets your end user in there.
Did I understand you that this has to be done at the district level?
Typically that's where it's done, yes. And remember, each district kind of has security set up differently. So some people give principals the rights to do this. Some have, it just depends on how your district has that set up.
Stacy,
but it does apply to everybody in that group, so keep that in mind.
So under this accessible log types that you have, if let's say that I'm a counselor and we don't have the discipline check, does that mean the counselor will not see any discipline log types?
Correct.
Or does that just prevent them from making that as an option?
They wouldn't see them as well.
They wouldn't see
them. So if they were to go into a student who somebody had entered it into, they would not see it.
Okay, perfect.
Yep. It's kind of a double fold right there.
Hey, Stacy.
Yes.
Hey, so let's say if the discipline was unchecked for let's say for teachers, and would that if they entered a discipline log, would that populate like on the assistant principal counselor's screen? Like, let's just say Stacy has entered a discipline file for Wonder Woman. Like, would it show me, like, it'll say, would it send me a notification that a discipline log has been inputted in there? Like, does it work like that?
It still possibly could do that, Herbert, because that is actually set up under the school setting. When you are, and I'm not at district office here, but I can swap to it real quick. That is actually controlled from inside of here under district office. Under the schools and school information. Remember when we all had to go set up our schools, put in like who's the principal, who's counselor, registrar, all that kind of stuff, this nice page. This right here, this disciplinarian, email copies of the new teacher log incident referrals to here, that's where that triggers. So even if they didn't have access to the actual log entry to get to that on the student page, if you had that email of their email address in here, they would get that email. They just wouldn't be able to do anything with it if they didn't have that access to the actual log entry page. Now, you do kind of have to be careful with this because this is a double use right here. This is where if you enter it in logs, it gets sent, but also if you are using incidents, remember that's where discipline actually has to go. And you have it set up where teachers can start the incident, the referral in PowerTeacher Pro, then that's what triggers that as well. So if you are using that piece of incidents for teachers to enter it in and want it to flow, then you really can't reuse log entries to be other forms of communication unless you want everything to go to everybody. And you got to be real careful with that, if that makes sense.
Hi, this is Lauren Perry from Satsuma.
Yeah.
I'm kind of asking a follow-up question. I just submitted a question for it. In order for a teacher to be able to have access to interlog entries, do they also need a PowerSchool staff login, or will they be able to do all of those things from PowerTeacher Pro?
No, there is a way that you can turn on, and it's actually a follow-up webinar that I need to do because I did that initial discipline one last month before last. I've lost track of time this year. It's been going so fast. But I wanted to show how to turn it on the teacher side. And actually, if you want them to do that piece, it really is just turning out to do the description type thing. And that can completely be done inside of PowerTeacher Pro. It then gets sent to the principal or assistant principal or whoever, and they pick up with all that other stuff where you have to do the action, the participant, the behavior, and all that kind of stuff inside of it. And that part the teachers wouldn't do. Whoever the administrator is would have to do that. So they would not need an admin log into this if you turn that piece on in PowerTeacher Pro.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm. And Sean, yes, you can have more than one email in here. You have to, if I got to remember, I think you put the semicolon and then the email. Because I know I've had more than one before. Yeah, it turns green once you do that. Thank you, though. Oh yeah, here's the directions. If you're ever questioning how to enter something in one of the fields in PowerSchool, here's just an overall FYI for you. And it's got one of these level data validation things in there. Click that little check and it will tell you what the rules are as far as how it has to be entered. So yeah, it tells me they must be separated by a semicolon and a single space. So that means I need to put a space in here. So that helps. So now that we've kind of looked at security, let's talk about, well, how do I actually get it so that it doesn't look like this? So remember when we were over here on Snow White in this other setup, we have all this discipline stuff. But when I was in Mickey Mouse, I get this nice little page. How do I get to this nice little page if you don't have it now? So let's show how to do that. Close out of this. So first you need to be at district office because this is a district level setting. So I'm in district office. Under setup, I'm going to come down to district and I'm going to scroll down to discipline. So incident management is where we do all the behavior stuff in the state, but this log entry field and log entry types are the two things that you're going to want to play with. So let me introduce both of them to you. The first one's going to be log types. This is that list that I had in the drop down. So remember every one of the checkboxes that I had in the group security and then my drop down, here's what I have. If I want to do subtypes up under them, like if I did want counselor notes and then I wanted subtypes of counselors. So let's say, well, I've got one that's called counselor notes. And then what if I want one that says parent contact? And then I want one that says, I don't know, what would be another thing y'all would want to separate out as a counselor as a possible log?
Mental health referral.
There you go. Perfect. Oh, it won't let me do more than, but yeah, you get the idea there. So submit. So I kind of show you all the different little ways. So I'm going to go back again in breadcrumbs. But what if I want a whole nother new log type? Like what if I want, what's something that y'all might want to keep as a record on students just overall? What's something you're missing in here that you wish you could track, that if it's not a field or just some place to denote different things?
Is it possible to add like social worker?
Sure. So that they can have a place to put notes and things in there. Yep. So we'll have a social worker log type. I can do a, I mean, like I said, you have in nursing, in the health component, there is a nurse's log, but let's say I want something even more private than that. I want a nurse's notes area. If I wanted
What about one for like MTSS or PST? That would be nice to have it in PowerSchool.
Yeah, because if you're not, you can do that in RTI in the special programs component. Have y'all played around a lot with any of that RTI stuff in there? Just since
I looked at it, but it's still not 100%, I guess, lined up with what the state's saying we need for MTSS and SIRPs. I think once we get it
Yeah.
set up for SIRPs, it'd be the perfect place to keep
Look.
everything.
You want me to tell you something I've been working on?
Yay,
Remember-
Stacy!
Remember what I've told y'all from the beginning? I'm going to make sure that we have this product where it works for us and we're not having to do all this extra legwork. So yeah, I've been like scurrying like a little rabbit in the background. So Shannon, yes, I am working to try to see if we can get these SRIPs, the portfolio, like I'm trying to get it all in here and not have to do all this extra data. So I promise y'all there's some background stuff going on that yes, know that Stacy is talking because Stacy is an educator. She was a teacher. I feel you. So yeah, we are working. Dr. Mackey's aware. I'm working with Bonnie Short, and some other things inside of PowerSchool. So yes, good things. Good things. Chick-fil-A girl, love you, Michelle. All right, so yeah, I'm going to do an MTSS one, just for now, if we need this in here. So let's go with these right here. So now that I've got these extra log types in here, so remember, as soon as I turn them on, I got to go into security and then grant them to somebody. But that just gives me the drop down. How do I actually reformat that page of the drop down? So I'm going to go back again in the breadcrumbs and scroll back down to discipline. So remember, we did log entry types. Now let's talk about the fields, because this is where the magic happens. This is where all of this goes bye-bye. How do I make all of this discipline stuff that I don't want leave this page and I can insert whatever I do? So what PowerSchool allows us to do is basically reuse these fields. One thing you will notice, anything that I click on, there's not a delete button. So unfortunately, I can't just get rid of these fields and make new ones. Like, why do I need action taken, discipline action taken? I don't need discipline action taken. What I can do is repurpose them. So the field names will always be this, which means if you do end up going to write some reports that will pull log entries, you'll still have to code the names back to these old non-usable fields, but we're going to repurpose them to make them different things other than what they see. So for every entry that's in here, I can do one of two things. I can hide it. So you'll see over here in my Opelika setup, all of these say hide. If I were to actually go here into this other instance setup, let me show you what their page looks like. And this is what your page is going to look like if you see all of that under log entry fields. You'll see that they all just have numbers in there. So if it's got a number, it's putting it in a sort order on that page as far as what is portraying to them. So I can hide it all together, or I can repurpose it. Well, when I think about what's on that page, so let me pop Snow White back up here, just so we can see all the, what I call the garbage. Let's think about what's here. Yes, if I'm doing some type of entry, I want to keep date and time. I want that to be part of the record. I want it to record who I am entering this in, and I have to have the drop down inside of there. If I have subtypes, then yes, that's going to need to be there. We want titles and we want log entry text, because this is kind of the notes area. This area and this one right here, it doesn't let us get rid of, but this right here is what I'm going to call has to be there for everything. So when it comes to the different setup, I wouldn't want to change any of these per se. Now, if you want to make some minor adjustments, yes, you can actually go in here and do that. The only one that I have not been able to get rid of is this consequence one. Like it doesn't let me hide all the ones below it, but for some reason I don't get a hide option on this one. And I think it's because it was discipline, even though it says optional. So that's going to be on the page. We're just not going to do anything with it. But for all the rest of these, I went in and I got this hide inside of it. So that's what I started out doing, is just hiding every one of these. But now I'm going to come back to the page under Mickey Mouse where it's cleaned up and say, okay, what is not on this page that I might want on the page? If all you're wanting is the notes area, then really you don't need to do anything to those other fields. If this is sufficient where all you want to do is go in here and say, all right, it is a counselor note, it is a, see, look, there's my subtypes, there's my mental health referral, and whatever I want to type is the title, and then I'm going to make my notes about what happened inside of there. I would just know to ignore this right here because there's nothing there, and I would hit submit, and I've got my note then entered inside of here. But the question that you want to ask yourself in your schools and in your district is, do I want some other field? Do I actually want to use these other fields and make them something else? So for example, this discipline action date, right now I've got it hidden, but what if I said, oh, I need another field on this page and I want it to be a choice of XYZ things. I don't know, maybe it's I would come into this and it tells me that this is an entry field, so I kind of would have to stay there. If I didn't want it to be an entry field, like what if I wanted it to be a drop down or a radio button selection? What I would need to do is come over here and find the one that would actually be that kind of entry. So I'm going to look at Snow White. Action taken is a drop down. So maybe the question that I want on my page now that I'm cleaning it up is to be a drop down of choices of types of conversation or types of intervention or types of, think about whatever you might want it to be. So what I would want to do is come over here and, which one was that? Sitting here talking and it's the action taken. So I would find this discipline action taken one. And I was like, oh, okay, this is a pop-up menu. It's a choice. I could actually flip it. Some of these I can flip and say, okay, I want it to be a checkbox or I want it to be an entry field, a static, but I'm going to leave pop-up. But I'm going to say, nope, I want to change these to be different options. I'm going to come over here and delete. And, oh, somebody help me think out of the box here. What would be some, maybe if you had a drop down on mental health services that you would want them to select? What would be something that I could add?
School-based mental health referral. SBMH referral.
We also use outside counselors that we refer to.
Oh.
Social worker.
I'm just going to kind of put some stuff right here and just, example. So whatever you would want, we would put in there. And I'm going to hit submit. And then what I'm going to do, and that was on the action taken, instead of hiding it, I'm going to reorder it. And it's now going to be, what was the number that I left off on? 7. So this is going to become number 8. Right? So I just went and grabbed one of these fields. Now, again, it's one of these fields that are all down here in Yucky. I grabbed it. And actually, I want to change the name of it because I don't want it to say, actually, I can't change the field name, but I can change the name. So this would be referral. We'll just say, what kind of referral are we doing with them? Are we doing a school-based, outside, social work? Who are we sending to next? And so there it is. It is now going to be number. I'm going to come to the bottom. I'm going to hit submit. So now let's watch what happens to the actual log entry page. So I'm going to go into Mickey Mouse, go back out. When I hit new, look what I have. I have a new drop down that says referral, and I can choose whatever I want. Now, here's the one caveat that you have to keep in mind. No matter which group or log type you have access to, even though maybe my intended consequence is for this to only be chosen when it's one that's a counselor mental health one, it's going to show under any of them. So you do have to keep that in mind. Even though you can repurpose this screen, whatever you choose to put down here, it's going to be accessible under any of these that they have access to. And sometimes that's not an issue. You just have to know, once you get used to using your SIS and using the program, you'll know that if you're a counselor doing this, that this applies to you. So when you're naming it, it might be that you want to say this is for, let's see how much in the name it'll let me change. Where's my referral? Right here. So maybe I want to say this is referral, and I'm going to put dash mental health use only. You know, you can do something like that. That way it keys in the end user, because if you get somebody new who wasn't here in the development of it, they're not going to know when or what that's supposed to be used for, because this is going to be specific to your district. So if I change it there, now let's refresh this page. Gotta go back in because I didn't save it. Now I know that, okay, yes, this is an option, but I only need to use this if I'm doing a mental health referral or things such as that. So you have this entire page right here of fields. I mean, there's 44 of them, I think, that you can repurpose. Again, can't change a field name, but you can change these names and change what they are and move them around so that you make this page become whatever you want. If you want it to track tardies and you want to have dates of tardies and you want a date picker down there, or you want, I mean, literally anything that is under any of these types. So you've got the yes, no check boxes for all of the options on there. Let's go back to that action taken. A checkbox. If I want to check signature form turned in, because something might require a signature form, then you can have a checkbox. So let's see what that would look like. If I let's grab a different one. What's another entry field over here that's a drop down? Alcohol related. You'll find the one that says alcohol related. So this is it's a hard-coded pop-up, yes or no. So I'd have to find one that allowed me to edit to be a checkbox. Sometimes you have to kind of click in these to see which one will allow you to do what. Oh, that one gives me a choice. So I'm going to change this to a checkbox, change this to form return. I don't know, maybe you want to track college visits and they've got to turn in a form to see if they can go on a college visit or something. So I want to just do a checkbox of a form returned, hit submit. This was drug type detail. I'm going to turn this on, make this number 10 and hit submit. So now all of my log entry pages, let's go back. And I hit new. So now look what I get, a checkbox. So you see, you're starting to kind of see the possibilities of what you can do with this. Think kind of really outside the box of anything you would want to check, because you can, like I said, you can turn them on and off for groups. So if only counselors need to see counseling notes, if only, now here's the other thing you have to keep in mind about counselor and things like that. It's not locked down to a person. So because anybody who's a counselor at the school is going to have access to Mickey Mouse, if you enter a counselor note and you're in the group having counselor note access, it's not like it's private to the end user. It's private to anyone in that group with access. So make sure you keep that caveat in mind. It's not that level of privacy, but it does give you the group, which, I mean, counselors pretty much cover for each other. So we kind of all know everything about every kid anyway. Completely get
What
that.
about, you mentioned that you could run reports based on those fields. So could anybody run a report with the right coding to get the counseling notes?
Most reports have security permissions built into them. I'll be honest, Shazley, I need to run some tests on that. My gut is to say that they shouldn't be able to. They should only be able to pull based on those permissions. But we can definitely double check that and see, because it could be that you might have to turn some of those reporting off. You kind of have to remember that in Data Export Manager. When people have access to those kinds of things, it does sometimes go around security and things like that, which is why we also say be careful what you do enter in here for things like that. But I'll do some testing with that and let you know what I come up with on.
Hey, Stacy, it's Sean.
Hey.
I just want to clarify and make sure, changing those field names, field labels, even though they say discipline, it's not going to affect anything else in PowerSchool. Those aren't tied to any other data or anything like that.
Nope, they are complete standalones.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Yep, it is. It's a kind of a separate little entity. It's nothing that the state is using nor mandating with anything, because everything we're doing with discipline and everything that reads from CERT is all inside of incidents. And I know there's a lot of districts. It was way more than what we originally thought. Didn't realize they were supposed to be using incidents and have all their discipline in logs, and are having to go re-enter all of that in incidents and delete these logs out so that they can repurpose and use this. So That's all right. We're gonna get there. We're gonna make this program where it's working for us.
Hey, Stacy, I have another question.
Yeah.
As far as the time period at the top that says date and time, is there any way you can alter that to like have the full amount of time that you spent on this one entry, this one contact that you made? The reason I say that is a lot of the school counselors and the social workers like to document their time. Some things are 15 minutes, some things are 2 hours if you've got a crisis. And it kind of helps them with their use of time to understand how they're using their time when they run reports.
I don't think it will auto-calculate, but that, in my opinion, would be a good use case of reusing one of these drop downs and doing some like intervals on there, 30-minute, hour, hour and a half, 2 hour, if you want to track that on there and have
Okay.
them put how much it's in there.
Okay.
Because yeah, in the date and time, it seems like the only thing I get are just those blank dates. Oh, I've had a couple questions in chat. Can these be edited for just one school in the district, or the changes be reflected to all schools? This is a district setting, so whatever you change does change across all schools. So you are going to need to come together as a district to make sure that you're doing it in a way that is going to be beneficial for all schools in the district. If we started using this as discipline and you edit the page, do you lose the info? Also, should all discipline they've entered in log entries be moved to incidents? So yes, if you do go and edit this, it's going to do some orphan records inside of the tables. So you do want to recreate all of these inside of incidents and go in and probably delete all of these log entries out. And well, there's a log entries table, so you could go wipe the whole table if you just wanted to, or you could come in here bit by bit. If you've been using it for other things, you might want to like filter by different types. There's ways to get them out in mass. We would just have to kind of look on that individually. Is there a way to search and see if someone has entered discipline here as opposed to incident management? Yeah, Shelly, you would probably just need to run some exports on it and see kind of what's been entered in there. There's not like a quick and easy other than just running the reports and looking through the data to see what's in there. And when you are, let's see if I can find it. So, no, that's the incidents. All the help. I know I do a lot. Most of mine I do out of Data Export Manager. Let's see what. That's all coming out of incidents. Where's my log entry? So when you're, let me show you, Shelly. When I am in system and you're in DDE, got a note. Got my whole log entry note. 1 second. Step out of the way and get in the second screen. It's under, it's in a weird place. Special functions. That's it. Special functions. Search log entries. Here it is. This is where you can go through and pick the log entry type. So whichever one I was wanting to actually search for. And remember, I'm only seeing these few because I'm not going to turn those others on that I made for the district administrator. So as soon as I do, then those will come in there. So if I, wanted to see if anybody had entered anything in as a discipline, I could go in here. If I want to do it from 8/9/2021 until today. And then submit. I don't even know if I've got some in here. And then which way would you like to export them? So let's see if Quick List gives me anything. Yeah, I don't have any entered as discipline because I had that turned off the whole time. But so let's go. Did just enter some as counselor. So counselor notes from 8/9/21. 31/2022. Hit submit. Let's see if it'll list them. Oh, come on. I wonder if I do this at a school. Because I haven't run as many of the reports. I've just been putting them in. All right, so special functions. Search log entries. Counselor. Yeah, now they're actually like.
The options that show up there on your log entries, do those reflect back to what you set up to be in the log? Okay.
Correct. Yeah, so if you notice, I turned all those other different log entries on, but because, watch what happens when I go back to system. I go into my security group, groups under security, and big group 9. See how those are not turned on? So let's say now I turn on MTSS. Yeah. So that might have just answered the question I was wondering about with the reports and whether you could run it or not. So now when I go to log entry search, I now have MTSS, so it does. So there's our answer that we were looking for. I like getting here and clicking buttons. All right, and you see that answer that I had? So this showed me all of my, so it looks like you do need to run it at the school level and not at the district level for it to actually produce that report for you. But it'll tell you if you have any. So does that help, Shelley? Carla, perfect. If you are only using to track attendance letters, meetings, and only use fields 1 through 8, would hiding the other fields orphan or delete what has already been entered? Yeah, it would. So I would leave those, Carla, or try to put them somewhere else. Unmute for a second, Carla. What are the kind of things, was it discipline that's entered in there that you're worried about, or is it other things you were using that you want to flip around?
It's just the attendance. I was wanting to clean that up so they didn't have to deal with entering all the discipline stuff in there and make it a little bit, cleaner looking for them when they're entering. Basically, if they've made a phone call to a parent about excuses, they go to the student, log it in to have documentation that they've made that phone call.
Yep. And I'll tell you, a lot of districts, I know some districts have purchased a plugin to do truancy notifications and attendance tracking, all that kind of stuff. But for those who hadn't, this is a great use of this, of having tracking of your attendance letters that you send home. And so I know some people are putting like a field in there for letter 1 sent and a date, letter 2 sent and a date, or call made and a date. So yes, truancy attendance notes, they definitely could be added as a log entry.
And that's what we've got. We've got those sub entries, sub log types in there as attendance letters for out of parent notes, or truancy referrals, things like that.
Yep. So definitely so. So does this kind of, are you a little excited about this? Are my counselors happy that they're going to be able to get their notes area back? Oh, is there a duration field that they could type in the length of time? Won't help with yeah, I would create one even if there wasn't one. So in this setup, I would, let's see, you could turn either one of these, or here's a duration in here. Oh, it's just an entry field box, but if you wanted to change that to like a pop-up menu that said 30 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours, whatever you want. 2 hour. You could make that your own duration. And see.
I was just saying there is a duration field that's blank when you go to enter it for a child, and they could actually just type that in. I was just thinking that may help with Joy's question.
Yes, most definitely.
Just be directly entered in the amount of time.
Yeah, I would definitely spend some time clicking into each one of these to see what they offer, and then figure out which ones would be your best use cases to flip around to be something else.
Stacy, would these log entries be viewable year to year for past years?
As far as I know, these tables are not wiped because they did used to be used as discipline, and some old school users who've been on PowerSchool for lots of times and don't want to move to incidents still do. So I would think that that would not be something you would want to wipe because of CRDC and stuff. Yeah.
And you said you could add a teacher, like where teachers could make notes that admin could see regarding contacting parents on failures, that type of thing, and how to link that to the Power Teacher?
So, let's see. I think I've got this mocked up in here. Let's see. Got a fake class I play around with in here. If I remember the thinking. So see if I can remember where. Okay, so you see when are y'all all familiar with this page right here? What teachers can see when they go into a student record? Have y'all seen this? I know a lot of y'all are on the admin side, but are y'all familiar with this piece of it? You ever seen the Power Teacher side? Let me go back to that. When teachers log in, this is what they see. This is called Power Teacher. Power Teacher Pro is another button click in that actually takes them to their grade book. This is where they take attendance. This is where student information and input can be seen. So of all of those screens that are on the left-hand side when you go into PowerSchool as an admin, they actually get view entry into some of those screens. They get into them by going to these blue, this used to be a student backpack. I still refer to it as that, but it's these blue ID cards. So if I want to look at this computer integrated manufacturing class as a teacher, I can click into here, and I do see all of my kids that are inside of here. I can swap to another class and see all those kids if I needed to, but I want to click into a kid, and you get kind of what you're used to seeing when you go in there. They get to see the quick lookup page, so a teacher can see all the grades on a kid at any point in time. They can see standards markings if you take standards grades, just kind of show you around in here. But what they also can see are all of these other screens inside of here. So if I'm a teacher and need to see these students' contacts, so and my pilot's going slow all of a sudden, you'll see my information. Demographics, all of this, but one of the ones that they have, and by the way, teachers can also see this screen, which is great. If y'all have not seen this, have y'all paid attention to the screen that shows you when parents and students are logging into their account? I love watching that. But if you scroll down to submit log entry right here, it's a generic. It doesn't really go into. So let's just watch this. So test teacher entry, and I'm just whatever it is I need to put in there. Let's hit submit. All right, so that is now off and going into cyberspace. And remember that schools and school info setting, whoever you have as the email address in there, that's where it's going to get emailed to. But if I come back over here, let's see what happens. Back to Mickey. I think it tags it under that discipline because that's what it was originally used for. Oh, I got the mouse. Yep, see there it is. Test teacher entry. And so that's kind of what happens. So if a teacher does put an entry in there, if you need it for some kind of reason, that is where it goes. And you'll see it tags it under discipline because that's the old school, what it used to be used for. You can leave that there and just know that it's not really discipline, but if it's something that a teacher needed to do, so you could do grade change through there and just know that that's what it's going to look like. And then whoever was in that email, let me see if I've got that because I think I have my state email in there. Let's see if it actually sent it. Yep. Oh, nope, that's a Oh, I hadn't set up my email in Pilot. That's right. Only in production. So I can't show you the email because it won't actually go through in my Pilot site. What other kind of questions do you have?
What is the truancy tab for on the student? Can you track attendance there?
The truancy tab here?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, you can. It's kind of a free form entry so that if you wanted to, you know, put that there was a truant event, you could. Now, you still need to enter attendance in attendance, but if you're wanting to do something specifically with truancy records or denote that this was letter, number 1 that went home on a 3-day, or yeah, let's call it 3-day letter.
Yes, our principals have been asking for this. They said that in now that it would do this for you and it would keep track of it for you. So right now they've all been putting it under log entries, but of course it's getting bombarded with that and discipline. But now we know to move the discipline.
Now, have y'all set up the attendance tracking and notification area in PowerSchool? Because it can go grab and generate for you.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, you kind of tie the two together.
Yeah, originally they the person that was I'm just now taking over, so I'm just now learning, but they told them not to use the attendancy tracking notifications, that it would attach a record that couldn't be deleted, but I'm pretty sure this can be deleted because I have been playing with it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So there's multiple ways you can go about it, and one's not right nor wrong. It's a matter of what makes the most sense to you as a district that makes it easiest to you to pull the information, report the information, and things such as that. So, and I'm all about finding ways to go outside of the box with this program. I know I had a conversation with a counselor not too long ago, and this program doesn't store GPAs. It doesn't keep them as a, let me go see what the GPA was at the end of first quarter, like I now used to have on that little transcript piece of it. And so one of the things that I taught them is that you can actually set up an honor roll to go capture an in-time GPA and store it, because honor roll is something that's stored to a table. And so it's going to be us in Alabama learning how to use some of these in other ways that doesn't harm anything else, that we'll end up getting the most bang for our buck out of this. And slowly but surely we're going to get there. And I tell everybody, if this is one of your first times on one of these webinars with me, PowerSchool is a 3-year learning process, y'all. So relax your expectations of what you should know right now, because we are just now getting at the end of year 1. And finishing year 1 in PowerSchool is you've just made it to 3rd grade in your educational career. So you've got bare basics. When we finish the end of year 2, we're going to be graduating high school, and the end of year 3, we're going to college, and we can do our job. So we're going there in little steps. But you got me here, and I'm going to continue these webinars. I'm going to continue recordings. Y'all been getting my little help guides, my newsletter. I'm going to document this program backwards and forwards for everybody in Alabama to help, because I truly believe it's going to be a great program. The amount of data you can put in and pull out, we're all having to learn how to pull it out effectively, is amazing. And we can do things in here we could have never done in now. So as much as it's a pain point that we don't have all these predefined reports built for us, which I don't know if y'all heard the word on the street, but we are hiring 2 people here at the State Department to start writing reports for us in the state to get that off of y'all's back. So like I said, good things are coming. So just give us time, and we're going to all make this. I promise y'all, in 2 more years, you're going to say, yes, I do love this program. You were right, Stacy. So just hang in there with me. Don't retire yet. Hopefully not. We might be getting good raises.
Stacy, could you put the homeroom search plug-in link in the chat, please?
Yeah, I think I have that in my Google site. See if I have it on there, because I love that plugin. I'm going to do a whole session on plugins at the class conference this summer. So there's the schedule search. This is also one for my counselors and scheduling, that right there. Hey, Emily, I miss y'all too. That one's a good one if you don't have that one. Where's my homeroom? I think these are like the best of the best that I have seen out there. Multi-select. Yep, homeroom selection. So it's this one right here. So let me grab this link, and y'all just peruse all of these. I'm going to put it in chat. Oh, yes, this is being recorded and it is going to be emailed out to, so that email that everybody got to register for this, I will just reply all, so everybody who got the original invitation will get the recording sometime today or tomorrow. I'm taking a half day tomorrow. Tomorrow is prom in Opelika, so my junior, who is male, is like being way more extra than my daughter ever was at prom, so I am taking a half day tomorrow to go help him deal with prom stuff. Because I've already gotten a text from the girlfriend who's crying because he can't decide on what time they're going to start for pictures. So I got to go play mama tomorrow. So hopefully it'll render by the end of the day today, and maybe I can get it stuck in there first thing in the morning for y'all. But definitely it is being recorded so that y'all can come back and absorb all this juicy information. Any other questions? We still got 5 minutes. I'm here for whatever you need. Hopefully y'all found this helpful and can see some good use out of this. Oh, you're very welcome, Gloria. Everybody else, y'all are so welcome. I am happy. People ask me all the time, do you still love the job? Are you happy, y'all? I'm so in love with the job. One, because I love helping other people. I'm a teacher by trade. That's what I did for 13 years, and I still have that heart. All I want to do is help people. I want to help people be the best that they can be and what they have to be. So, yeah, y'all remember, when the state hired me here, it means that y'all all got another PowerSchool employee in your school. So use me and ask questions. Call if you're having issues. Then let me know. I know if I got a lot of counselors on here, y'all are hot and heavy in scheduling right now. If you have questions, call me. I'll spin up some scheduling stuff here shortly too. Make sure that y'all are getting that PowerSchool newsletter. It's got lots of links to the videos of everything that I've done up to this point. Lots of help guides. Hopefully that help guide that I put in there this weekend that came out on Monday, the one to kind of show you how to do some of the data exports, how to do the student list, that's very beneficial. Very much so. I'm here. And if there's something that, is just like is in the back of your mind, I'll be honest. The reason that I decided to do this log entry webinar is because a couple weeks ago, EdTech sent out a survey about what sessions y'all would like to see at ALED and what's the one question y'all wanted answered about PowerSchool. I kept seeing, I want my counselor notes. I want my counselor notes. And I was like, wait a minute, they're there. So if they're not seeing it, I need to tell them about it. So if there's something that you're like, I need, Stacy, where is this at? I know this has to be able to do it. Shoot me an email, because it might be something that a lot of other people in the state doesn't realize that they, want, or they're wanting and just not saying. And if it's doable, I will show you how to do it, and we'll get it where you're in there right now. I know everybody's hot and heavy in scheduling, and we're doing data cleanup, getting ready for the end of the year. We're running reports. We're making sure cohorts right, and CCRs are entered, and graduates are ready to be graduated, and checking GPAs. We're still having GPA conversations. As you get into those, I'm here for you. So y'all just reach out to me anytime. I'll hang on here for the next couple of minutes. I'll stop the recording right at 2 o'clock. If y'all need to drop off to go handle testing, because I know we're hot and ready in ACAP right now, then y'all go ahead and have a great rest of the day. But I'll hang around if anybody's got a couple more questions.
Hey, this is Nicole again. One more question. Yeah. ATN, is that based off meeting attendance? Is that correct?
You have to set it up for the different way. Do you happen to have I have it on here under my attendance page. Hang on, find it.
Because originally we were set up with meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And one of our schools was daily was added, but it will run at the high school, which is only on meeting attendance. It does run it up there. But our other schools, it does not. But it's only because they're elementary schools and they take it for one period. That's the beginning of the day and that's it. I wondered if that was it.
It works on both. It all depends on how you have that set up, because we're doing the percent time today, so it's looking at that. So have you looked at this document right here?
I have not.
Okay, let me grab the let me just grab this page link, because it gives you all the good attendance stuff. But this will help you and really does a good job at walking through each of those settings inside of there.
And will you be doing any videos on setting up attendance, both meeting and daily, for next year?
Yes, I'm going to have some conversations this summer. There is a video. And I'm going to be honest, Nicole, it's about 2 hours. But last year, so when I was still in Opelika, it was right after Mega, I think, when the official attendance manual came out. I did a webinar, and I literally walked through every checkbox of the attendance setup, the preferences page. Like, if you check this, here's what it means. When you set up FTE, here's what it means. I've got that video out there that kind of goes all through all of it, but I want to do that conversation again this summer to kind of walk through, if we decide to turn on median and daily, what you can do. Do you really have to run both in complete functionality? And the answer to that is actually no, but you need to understand what the consequences are, what could happen if you choose to do that. And so I kind of want to have a deep dive attendance meeting this summer, so some people can decide if they want to redo all of their settings. And I've already had some that are. I know another thing that I really want to do this summer is have a conversation about that final grade reporting term setup and those buckets to make